This week, PAPI work on strengthening their position in M2-XFE. Brave are kept busy in catch. Siberian Squad joined the Imperium. The invasion of the area of Delve known as HELM'S Deep begins. And fleet warping titans is still a thing. Hello, I'm Frost, and this is your weekly EVE Online War Update. Welcome back. So, whilst the previous week that I reported on was very much all about subcat warfare, this week is very, very different and is much more about the strategic side. And so I'm going to do my usual thing. I'm going to jump up into my box because we are going to be using .lan a lot. A couple of things that I've changed. Thank you very much to some feedback. First of all, my pointer is now much bigger, and hopefully you can see that much more clearly as I wander around the map with it. And I've added some dates along the bottom as well. So we've got an idea of kind of what is going on and what dates I'm actually referring to when I'm talking. So let's jump straight in. First of all, Monday the 1st. Monday the 1st was all about one constellation. The constellation was, whoops, make sure I get the right thing. There we go. Is this green one down the bottom down here of NJU-QV. Basically, this was all about Horde. I believe Horde hold those systems on the iHubs. Yeah, so Horde and the iHubs. And they managed to secure these, and these were actually uncontested. So it was kind of pretty much of a dry run. There wasn't much in the way of engagements or anything. But the key ones obviously here is STAC 6, which is a Keepstar system. So they're able to hold that. They're able to hold ITAC E, and also, what was the last one? Yes, KEE-N6. So really Monday was a pretty quiet night. And then we moved on to Tuesday, and Tuesday was also a quiet night. In fact, nothing happened. Nothing with regards to the war on a strategic scale. So we're going to move straight on to Wednesday. So Wednesday was very different. So on Wednesday, something came out, which was the M2-XFE right here. The M2-XFE TCU. So as you know, Test were able to secure the iHub in the previous week, and now they've gone for the TCU. And so they reinforced this, and they were able to do that uncontested. And in the meantime, some stuff happened up in HELM'S Deep. So before we come up to HELM'S Deep, let me finish off with M2-XFE. The reason why they Test want the TCU as well is because they want to get full SOV on their system. By doing so, they can then make that into a capital system. And the benefit of getting a capital system is you get a +1 bonus to your ADM. Now your ADM is the thing, the Advanced Defense Multiplier, which is the thing that sets how long the vulnerability timer windows are on your iHubs and your TCUs, but also how long it takes for you to complete the SOV warfare. That's when you have to kind of do the capture the flag, do the actual taking of nodes. So that time is reduced for the defender and then greatly increased for the attacker. So a capital system is much harder to steal away TCUs and iHubs. So that takes 7 days to actually take effect. And I imagine that the Imperium will be continually trying to reinforce this, as obviously M2-XFE is the area where there are, I believe, still about 130 to 140 PAPI Titans, super capitals, still trapped in that system. So clearly, the PAPI are going for the long game here and going, right, okay, well, if we don't get an opportunity to extract like we have done previously, then what we can do is we can try and do the 35 days and get the Sino-Jammer in there. If the Sino-Jammer is in there, then that's a done deal. From a personal point of view, if I was the Imperium right now, I would just say, look, just focus on other things. As you'll see from this war update, there are more important things going on right now than trying to put all your resources into trying to keep these Titans locked down. I think by now, a difference of 100, 150 Titans between each side is pretty clear that both sides, have well over 600 Titans each, if not more. It's not going to swing the war that greatly, but having your resources tied there may do. So I don't personally know how much the Imperium have invested in this, but obviously the Hell Camp is still ongoing. There's still a lot of people logged in on a regular basis. So there may need to be a change of tack there, but that's purely a personal opinion on my part. So anyway, so that was the evening of Wednesday the 3rd. Then later on that night, about 2300, PAPI did jump in some carriers into M2-XFE to clear some bubbles, but they've been doing this fairly regularly. It's kind of to keep very much Imperium on their toes, and if they do actually plan a breakout, it's not exactly clear when this will be, as you never know when the clearing of the bubbles may turn into something greater than that and may escalate. And from what we've seen so far, the Imperium are much better at forming generally on timers than on flash forms when it comes to the numbers that we've seen from the previous kind of breakout attempts. But that may change. Anyway, so that kind of covers the Wednesday the 3rd. And in fact, what I'll do is I'll show you the iHubs. So this was the iHubs as of 2240 on the 3rd. So as you can see, a few things have been reinforced, but the most notable ones were up here. So we're now going to be talking about Helm's Deep. So Helm's Deep is different things to different people. To some people, Helm's Deep is simply the system of E30I. Let me see if I can get a highlight on it. There we go, right there. And it is basically the blockade that was being held on the RF-K9W gate. For others, Helm's Deep is this whole area in the top left-hand side. And if I go over to, I can't get over to the constellations because it's a screen grab. But this top left area around over here, these 4 constellations, are considered to be Helm's Deep, and they have been previously untouched by PAPI and were still being used for ratting and mining by the Imperium. And they're able to get into these either by jump clones or through subcaps by using jump bridges in the constellation tied in around their main capital system of 1DQ1-A. So from this constellation down here, they're able to bridge up into this constellation here and then move around in Helm's Deep. So things have started to change. So this is something I mentioned probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago now, that I was surprised that PAPI hadn't started pushing into Helm's Deep, but that changed a great deal. And so they did reinforce LUA5, as you saw here. In fact, a little bit later on, after I'd done this screen grab, they also reinforced QC-YX6. And so being able to break into Helm's Deep was a big deal. So then we move on to Thursday the 4th. And on Thursday the 4th, I will mention this because it is always worth mentioning a Titan kill. This Titan once again died in 1DQ1-A. Now, if you remember last week, I said, how about, Titans get fleet warped. So what happened here is exactly the same thing, that a Ranger Regiment Titan pilot undocked without being in fleet, accepted a fleet invite from Northern Coalition, who were then able to warp this Titan pilot to an asteroid belt and then drop a bunch of dreads. So exactly what happened the previous week. And I said, that generally you never undock without being in a fleet, and if you can't be in a fleet, you form a fleet with yourself and you flag exempt yourself as well, just to make sure. But lessons have not been learnt, and it has happened again, and I'm sure it will happen more in the future. But this is the price you pay if you don't pay attention when you're multi-boxing. It was a pretty nice fit as well. We've got some nice mods on there as well. But anyway, that Titan died. So moving on. What actually happened on Wednesday evening, though, is more important. And what was done was PAPI reinforced the iHub in F2OY. Now, F2OY is not in Delve. F2OY is in Querious. It's up here in the top right-hand side on the map of Delve. It links to 1DS-SX. Now, what is curious about this system is this kind of fake Delve or fake Querious, because it's this part of Querious. I'm onto the Querious map now, as you can see. This whole section on the left-hand side here is in Querious, but you can't actually get to it from the rest of Querious without going through Delve. So it's kind of part of Delve, really, but it's on the Querious map. Now, F2OY is important because it is a keep star system. So there is an Imperium keep star here, but it is also potentially the exit strategy for the Imperium. So if I jump back to the Delve map, you remember that up here in 1-SMEB or 1-SMEB, the keep star was lost. I think it was last week. And this was potentially gave the ability for the Imperium to gate their Titans or their super carriers into SACT, which is low sec. So that was a potential exit strategy. And since that keep star has been lost, that is now gone. So if they ever need to pull out their super capital fleet, they're going to need to do it through Querious. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to range. So I'm going to show you from 1DQ1, but it's pretty similar from E30 as well, which is the other staging system for Imperium. If we look at a Titan bridge or a Titan jump, you can see that they're able to jump to F20Y. Then once you get to F20Y, if I bring up the range for F20Y and I do a go and then I go down to Querious, they're able to then jump to W6V-VM, which is another keep star. So there are currently 3 keep stars that belong to the Imperium in Querious. There's one in F20Y, there's one in W6V-VM, and then there's one up here in the north in GOP-GE. And GOP-GE we'll come back to in a little while because there is some news associated to that as well. So anyway, so PAPI reinforced F20Y. And then that brings us on to Friday. Now, Friday is when things really started to heat up. So the first thing that happened, there was some SOV warfare in 4XO. This was Horde once again, and it was uncontested. So nothing happened there. But in the meantime, there was the soft warfare for LUA5 and QCYQ6. So I've got a dot land for this one as well, I believe. Have I got it? Yeah, there it is. So there we go. So LUA5 and QC. But what you will also see is how much stuff got reinforced. So this particular night, PAPI went all out on reinforcing as many iHubs in Helm's Deep as they possibly could. And as you can see, there's a fair number there. On top of that, they were able to take LUA5 and QC pretty much uncontested. The only thing that happened is a small battle that happened between some Ares and some Skybreakers. So I've got the battle report here, and the reason why I want to bring this up is because of the Skybreakers. So as you know from previous war updates that I've done, Goonswarm have been very, very good at fighting SOV warfare with frigates, particularly interceptors. Normally these were either burst jamming or they were battle scepters, but they had them in sufficient numbers to be able to take out drakes or falcons or eagles or anything like that was being used to do the entosis on the nodes. But Skybreakers were used as a fleet, and there were about 56, 57, 60 Skybreakers. Now, these Skybreakers managed to completely obliterate this Ares fleet in one fell swoop within seconds of each other. Now, if you're not familiar with this, the Skybreakers use, in fact, I've got a kill mail for a Skybreaker here. These guys use their Vorton projectors, which are like the chain lightning on the Doomstar, Keepstar Doomsday weapon. And they're a really bizarre doctrine for Pandemic Horde to use, but they have shown where they can work. They can work at being very, very good at taking out frigates or destroyers, the moment they have sufficient numbers of them. But there is a big downside to this. The first one is, you can see a loss mail here. These frigates are not cheap. That's 270 million for one frigate. On top of that, this chain reaction from the weapon of the Skybreakers, it doesn't pick just your enemies. And as you can see, this loss from Pandemic Horde for the Skybreaker was actually from its own chain weapons. So they have to be extremely careful with this. And these things are super squishy as well. You know, they're only frigates. In fact, let me bring up Python. I've got Python right here, so it's really small. Let me zoom in for you so you can see a little bit more clearly. These things do very little DPS, but as you can see, they work well against destroyers if there's enough, and frigates if there's enough of them, and they're in tight enough balls. So that the chain reaction requires a short distance in order to be able to work. So in this case, the Ares were all landing on a gate, and so they're all clumped together, and so the weapon was effective. But if they're dealing with, for example, jackdaws, then they could potentially be in a lot of hurt. I mean, you can see their range here is only like 56 kilometers on the projector. Jackdaws can reach way beyond that with the right fit, and especially if they spread out, then these things will just be picked off ever so easily. They do have a speed advantage. You know, they do have good speed on them, but their align time is crap. pardon my language, and their warp speed is appalling. So, you know, a smart bomb Loki would be able to warp ahead of them and just land on the gate ahead of them and obliterate them. So I still consider the Skybreakers to be a novelty. I don't think they have a long-lasting use, but if they really need to take out Ares, then obviously they have the doctrine to do it with. So there you go, kind of a bit of a side slant there, but hopefully you found that interesting anyway, as to this kind of new doctrine that's been implemented. It has been successful at least once so far. So coming back to the iHubs, as you can see, it was burn night on Friday the 16th. So all these iHubs got reinforced in all of these constellations. And all of these would then come out on Sunday night. So as I said, Imperium have been really good at forming in previous weeks for the kind of the big timers like this and the big SOV fights. And so everything was kind of coming up to this Sunday for that to happen. But before we get to Sunday, we've got Saturday to cover. And before I cover Saturday, I would just say very quickly, if you're enjoying my videos, you enjoy my content, then you can really help me out by liking the video, by subscribing to my channel, and hitting that bell icon for notifications. If you'd be so kind to do that, that would be great. Also, you can join my Discord if you want to help me with info on what's going on during the war, help me get some extra details, and also do please post my videos in your Alliance Discords and your Corp Discords. Let your Corp and Alliance members know that I'm around and doing these war updates every week. Right, okay, moving on, Saturday is 6. So, what do we cover? Okay, first piece of news. This is straight from INN. Siberian Squads joins the Imperium. So, Siberian Squad are a Russian alliance. They were on the Fire Couch and given some space in Tenerife. And then I think it was about 2 weeks ago, they said they were going to pull out the war and head north. And instead, they have now announced, they announced this on Saturday the 6th, that they're joining the Imperium. And most notably, that they will be settling in Querious. You can see it down here. So Siberian Squad will be settling in Querious. Now, this is a quote. I don't know if it's actually the case. I haven't seen it. But it is my understanding, if we go back to the Querious map, that they are going to be going to the GOP Keepstar. Obviously, as you know, from the jump range map that we saw earlier, GOP is kind of left out on its own here, so it's pretty vulnerable. So moving Siberian Squads into there would make sense, and I would assume that they would then change the vulnerability timer to put it into the Russian time zone, which is kind of mid-afternoon UTC, mid to late afternoon. So it'll be interesting to see if that actually plays out. What's interesting as well is that if I bring up .lan as well and go to Tenerife, they still had their, see Siberian Squad has still got all their sovereignty here. So I'm assuming that's going to change in time. I assume Army of Mangoes or otherwise Fire Coalition, that's Razor, XIX, etc., will come in from Deterid and take this. I can't see this being left as it is for the time being. So yeah, be interesting to see how involved Siberian Squad get involved in that. If they do, then we may see Fire getting more involved in Querious as well, as they are kind of the natural PAPI opponent of Siberian Squad and Ranger Regiment and Fraternity, which are the Chinese time zone, which is only kind of 2 or 3 hours difference from the Russian time zone. So the other thing that happened on the Friday, as well as all these iHubs being hit, there we go, all these iHubs being hit, was Sinojammers started getting hit all day long as well. So if I actually bring up Sinojammer losses, which I've got up here, there we go. So you can see on the 5th, a lot of Sinojammers got taken out in 1DQ, and then in T-Mofa. T-Mofa is in Helm's Deep, so is T-TAC-I, so is 4O, so is QC, so is LU-85. So you can see a whole bunch of Sinojammers were taken out with the view of the SOV warfare that was going to be happening then on the Sunday. And in fact, you can see that this continued all the way through till Sunday, that they kept, as the Imperium kept putting Sinojammers back, they kept getting hit over and over again, right up until 4:30 on Sunday the 7th, which was literally minutes before the soft timer started to come out. By the way, my ads were also mentioned that come up on my Zkill and my Dotlan and everything. They're not personalized to me. I've turned personalization off, but I keep the ads on as a way of supporting Zkill. So yeah, don't put ad blockers on your Zkill, please. It's a valuable resource, and it needs all the help that it can get to maintain all the costs of running Zkill. Right, so that was pretty much Saturday then. So, the other thing that happened on Saturday as well was the F2OY iHub was won. And there wasn't any kind of major fleets in there. The Imperium only provided 2 fleets, and they were kind of blobbed by PAPI. So Imperium did 2 fleets, PAPI blobbed them. So there wasn't really kind of anything going on there. So that eventually got flipped. And as you can see from this iHub, it now belongs to NCDOT. And then the other one was the RFKN9 iHub was won by PAPI, and I can't even remember where that is. It wasn't one of the that's right, it was just at the entrance to HELM'S Deep here, so still part of this constellation. And then we get on to Sunday the 7th. Now Sunday the 7th, I need to mention Brave. So Brave have been having all kinds of issues back in Catch. So you can see here is all the Brave iHubs in the west of Catch. And most notably, I think it was their iHubs, either TCU or iHub, got reinforced in their capital system of GE-TAC or GE-8JV. So I'm trying to be really, really careful with my pronunciation here so that the captions pronounce all of these correctly as well. So yes, there was a fight here as a consequence of this, but the fight was very one-sided. I have the battle report, and you can see that there was 5 billion lost to Legacy Coalition. So this was purely Legacy that got involved in this. There was no kind of rest of the PAPI forces. It was primarily dock workers that were the aggressors. Goonswarm brought some jackdaws along to support, and the initiative brought some unions. The end result, though, was the initiative kind of didn't really get involved. They kind of just stayed on the side, saw what was happening to dock workers and went, no, we're not having any of that, and bailed. The dock workers made a mistake. They brought armor hack doctrines to a shield hack fight, and it did not work out well for them. And this just goes to confirm that shield hacks are extremely dominant right now. So it was a Munin fleet from Brave, and then Tez supported it with almost equal numbers. So they brought about 150 as well of Munins. So you're looking at sort of 300 plus Munins versus these dock workers who were in hacks, and they got obliterated. Unfortunately, the armor hacks, as you can see, the Guardians can be volleyed off by the Alpha of the Munins. As soon as that happens, the Zealots are afterburner fit, which means they can be easily bubbled and trapped, and they have very little movement, whilst the Munins, being MWD fit, can just burn around, burn out of bubbles, and can maintain grid control, which is the primary benefit of the shield hack doctrine right now, is it's extremely hard to pin down. So anyway, so Brave were able to sort themselves out there. But the other notable piece of news for Brave is that Volta have apparently come into the fray. Now, Volta are going to be bad news for Brave. The reason why is Volta wormholers. They love to basically hunt on mining and ratters. And even take out structures and just generally be a real pain. And they're extremely difficult to pin down. They're a talented group of pilots. They know what they're doing. They've been doing this a long time, and they're extremely effective. And this is really, really going to hurt Brave for the new bros and the guys that are just staying at home and wanting to rat and mine. That's going to be over if Volta are going to be there. And I can imagine Brave are going to have to pull out and really focus on this. They're not going to be able to be in 2 places at once if Volta are there as well, and if Volta, especially if they decide to be extremely aggressive. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Brave in regards to their participation in the war. And then now we're going to come on to the Sunday evening. So Sunday evening was expected to be the big fights, and the reality was that it was a fizzle. There was no fight. And PAPI went and took these two constellations, and the Imperium focused totally. Let me go into my constellation map, it'll be a little bit clearer. So yeah, so PAPI focused on this green one at the top here, and this yellow one right here. These were the two constellations that they focused on. The Imperium focused on the purple constellation right here. They still had their cynojammers in place here, and so they decided that was a safe area to keep. And also this top one was pretty much untouched. I think F-9PXR was reinforced, but PAPI were too busy reinforcing all of these systems, which took 5 hours. And I think the Imperium decided that maybe boredom would do it, and the PAPI forces were just left sort of flying around iHub nodes for 5 hours, reinforcing all these systems. So the end result that we have is that, if we go back to our hubs, is that now Helm's Deep has been full-on invaded. So you can see there's only one Imperium system left in these two constellations. All the rest are now owned by Test. This means no more cynojammers, no more jump bridges. And where does it go from here? Well, first up is the PAPI forces are going to be dropping a Keepstar in QC. It was anchoring at the time of shooting this video. By putting a Fortizar right in the middle of what was once known as Helm's Deep, means that they got that force projection, that they can now use Titans to bridge fleets home. They can jump Titans onto the Fortizar where it is relatively safe for them to do so, and so therefore they can then also put in faxes and carriers quite easily into Helm's Deep now. So as a consequence, the Imperium have been pushed back into those two constellations into the left-hand side here. I can see PAPI maintaining this attack. I can see them going for this top constellation next, and then going for the constellation below it, and trying to just bring all industry for the Imperium to a halt, and basically just pushing the Imperium back down into this one constellation here. They do also own the other constellation over on the right-hand side, this light purple one, the violet one over here of W-4U1E. That's mostly held by the Chinese alliance of Dakaris, Drakaris, and then there's some Condi systems there as well. Where this will go now is very much up to PAPI and how far they push, and whether the Imperium push back. So I was very, very surprised to see the Imperium didn't push back. And on top of this, there's been a bunch of Satio kills. So these were in JP4 and DTAC-W. So these were actually still in the areas of near to T5ZI and 1DQ. But this GY6 one, I believe, was GY6. I think is up. Where is GY6? I need to look it up. Let me just type that in very quickly. GY6. Oh, it's all the way over there. Okay. So I imagine now the Satios and the kind of industry structures are going to start getting hit in these two constellations, and then being pushed into here and trying to really just push out the Imperium on an industry level. So there you go. That kind of wraps it up. Let me know your thoughts on where you think this is going to go next. I see that the Querious route is going to be trying to be blocked off. The PAPI are going to push more into Helm's Deep. They're going to start killing structures there. And it's very much now up to the Imperium as to whether they want to still focus on M2-XFE and build up their siege camp in 1DQ, or whether they start pushing back. And I assume we will see in the next week. So like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Please give me your comments, all that kind of good stuff, and see you in the next one. That's all from me. Bye.